WPF Memphis, Flynn Broadcasting Stations. It's time for Wallow and Friends on Sports 56, presented by Homer Skelton Hyundai. Here's your host, the voice of the Tigers, Dave Woloshin.
Welcome in on a glorious Monday morning, January the 10th. Oh, man, time flies. I sure wish we had something we could talk about today. Whoa. I mean, what a day. It is Championship Monday. This comes after what was around here a Super Sunday. Tigers and Grizz, both winners. The NFL regular season ends up going into overtime with a little bit of controversy because a coach who could have been in the playoffs blew it. He gets a rust from me in just a little bit. And there will be a big announcement this afternoon, and we'll have a guest tomorrow pertaining to it. There will be a big announcement around 2 to 3 Central Time this afternoon that Memphis Tiger football fans are going to absolutely love. Can't say what it is yet, but I can tell you you're going to love it, and it will be historic, and we'll talk more about that tomorrow. So the Tigers were sensational. They had to show mental toughness and physical toughness. When you play Cincinnati, by the way, that's the 83rd meeting. And that goes back a long way. That game was super. And then the Grizz. And I'm going to get into all of that with precious metals. But there's big news already this morning. 3 guys already canned in the National Football League. That's the 4th already, probably more to come later today. But just this morning, bye-bye, Matt Nagy. You know, I have nothing against him personally. I think he's a nice fella, but he sure didn't do the job in Chicago. The Bears deserve better. They really do. And hopefully they get the OC from the Patriots because that is perfect for Justin Fields. But Nagy's gone. The first one to go this morning was Mike Zimmer of the Vikings. You knew that was going to come. And then this stunning. And we welcome back Jay Morgan Harder. He had a COVID pause. I think we can say that okay. I hope that is. Had a COVID pause. And you actually, even with 2 shots and not a booster, 2 shots, you got pretty sick. You had, 105-degree fever?
That's what the thermometer said. It might have been a little bit inflated, but I had a pretty high fever.
Wow.
Yeah.
You didn't feel good, though.
I did not for a couple of days, no. But I'm good now. I'm ready to go.
You're good.
Until I heard the news that Brian Flores is fired.
Wow. I think that's a little crazy. That's a little like I keep hearing that Culley, the Texans coach, 1 year without a quarterback. I mean, that wasn't his fault. All the stuff he put up with Deshaun Watson and trying to keep that team together, I don't understand why he would get canned 1 year in.
Without a good roster on top of that, too. Like, forget just Deshaun Watson and Davis Mills, who Davis Mills looked better down the stretch, but no Deshaun Watson. That almost, to me, if he does get fired today, is more puzzling than Brian Flores, because it's reported Brian Flores, they had a power struggle at the top of Miami a little bit, and so that makes a little more sense. And also, the front office kind of knew what it wanted to do when they started 1-7. They kind of got fat down the stretch while they did win 8 of 9. But those teams they beat down the stretch weren't as good, so that's a little more understandable. But I tell you what, it's never a good sign when you fire a coach and you have other teams that are probably going to be lining up to hire that guy. It's usually a pause for concern, I would imagine.
All right, I've already picked my champion. It's Alabama. I have to look to see how I did on my locks. I actually offered you a chance to put 3 out there. You did not get mine.
No.
Voicemail, apparently.
On top of COVID, I had phone issues, too, and I couldn't get to the T-Mobile store till I got better. It was a wild week.
Oh, wow. Okay. Anyway, I think Alabama's going to win. We're going to talk with Mike Fitzsimmons about that in a little bit. Oh, and T.J. Reeves, speaking of NFL news, you're not the only guy that had COVID this week. Gene Deckerhoff, the longtime Florida State, and, of course, I think the only announcer the Buccaneers have ever had, he had COVID, so he couldn't go. And that meant T.J. Reeves, front and center. And TJ Reeves did a terrific job. He will talk about the NFL with us in a little bit. We got precious metals, and you've got, I know, those all set up. But tell me, I like Alabama. I don't see how the teams have changed all that much since a pretty dominating win after a shaky start by Alabama. They still have Bryce Young, and Georgia still has Bennett. The secondary for Georgia is still the same, and their defensive line is still the same, and Alabama's offensive line is still the same. So you could make the point, maybe they'll play it a little bit differently. They'll try to pound the ball a little bit more, keep it away from Bryce Young. I just don't see how. And Georgia's the favorite. I don't get the line, and I like Bama in this game.
Saban's in their heads. Saban is in their heads.
And Kirby Smart's 4-0 against Smart.
Yeah, I think Alabama wins as well, but I don't know. It seems I really thought Alabama was going to win last time too, and so it makes me I'm a little scared about Alabama this time, but we'll see.
All right, we will do precious metals here in just a moment because I've got a lot. I know you've got some, and we have a lot to accomplish today. I'll let everybody know we're sitting in the Family Leisure Studios, where right now, at the real Family Leisure, which is, by the way, at I-40 and Wooden Road, they got the floor model sale going on. So what is the floor model sale? That's real simple. They've got stuff that they've had sitting there for just a short period of time for people to take a look at and buy, right? Well, now they got to move that stuff out because the 2022 products are coming in. So all floor models are literally priced to move. They are lower than you're ever going to see them, but you better go now because once the floor models are gone, that's it. They're gone. You don't get them back. They're only there the one time. And I'm talking theater seating, massage chairs, arcades, foosball, air hockey, shuffleboard tables, of course, the great pool tables, and a whole lot more, and deals on spas and swimming pools. All you got to do is get to I-40 and Wooden Road. Check out the floor model sale at Family Leisure. It is time for precious metals. I'm going to start off with the bronze for the Tigers. They win a physical and a mentally tough game. Now, I've seen in the past the Tigers, when they're up against a team like Cincinnati that will come at you with brawn and with muscle, and they had 6 guys 6'7" or better. They had 3 guys 6'11" or better. Incredible. And Tigers took a big lead, 10 points in the first half, and then lost it and fell behind. Now, normally, they're not mentally tough enough to go along with the physical toughness to overcome that. Oh, not this team. Not with the reemergence of Imani Bates, the reemergence of Jalen Duren. There was no DeAndre Williams. Your best player, in my mind, wasn't there. That was fun to see. We are seeing the emergence of Josh Minot. My goodness, is that kid exciting to watch. Of all the freshmen, he may end up being the best. He was terrific yesterday. First career double-double, and he does it against these monsters from Cincinnati, Ohio. And then there's the story of Tyler Harris. Supposed to be a walk-on, right? Left, wanted to come back home. Penny took him, but he's not a scholarship player. But whoa, was he critical, especially after Earl Timberlake, the starting point guard, goes down, walked into a screen, didn't see it, didn't get that thing called out correctly, ends up in concussion protocol. And what does Tyler Harris do? Comes in, plays the point, not necessarily a specialty, scores 9 of the last 11 points, played really, really hard, had a big steal on the defensive end to sort of seal it all up, and the Tigers get a win. By the way, just so people know, Tigers are now 50 in the net. What is interesting to me about this is there are 6 teams in the American that are in the top 73, which means there are plenty of opportunities for Memphis to get quad 1 wins to move up the ladder. People don't realize that. If you're on the road and you're a top 75 team, that is a quad 1 opportunity. Incidentally, just so you know, remember the Wichita State team was 72 or 73 when they played them. Then they went to 77. It was a quad 2. Now they're back to 73. That's a quad 1 win. The Tigers have now 3 quad 1 wins, and I'm not even sure how many quad 2s. So, excellent. That really will help a whole bunch. So they get a bronze. The Tigers on the whole after their win. I give a silver medal to the NFL season. 17 games with surprises galore. Sentimental stories like Ben Roethlisberger or the way the Raiders kept coming back. I mean, last night was amazing. That game, they actually had 6 fourth-down conversions. 6! Crazy. Yeah, to keep coming back, had to replace a coach. I mean, that stuff is, you can't write this stuff out. I mean, it is amazing. There is more parity at the top than I've ever seen. You look, I know Tennessee and the Packers are your number 1 seeds that get a bye, but are they the best? Are you guaranteeing that those 2 teams are going to play in the Super Bowl? Heck no. And we'll talk more tomorrow with Jeff Moore and then later in the week with Russell Copeland about these playoffs. But I think they're going to be spectacular. Just the way the season finished by going into overtime, and we'll get to Russ here in a minute. And then my gold medal goes to the Grizz. The Grizz have now won 9 in a row. Ladies and gentlemen, that is a franchise record. That's better than the 14-15 team ever did. They've won 9 games in a row. How about this? This team, which always is missing a person, right, because of COVID, they haven't had the full team there I don't know how long. They didn't have their coach the last couple of games. They win the L.A. trip without Tyler Jenkins, who's Taylor Jenkins, who's in protocol. And they still win both games on the coast in whatever the state. It's not the Staples Center anymore. It's that the Bitcom deal.
Crypto.com.
Crypto.com, yeah. It's incredible. How about this? They've now won 6 games in a row on the road in this 9-game winning streak. But even more impressive, out of their last 13 road games, they have won 12. 12 out of 13 on the road, 9 in a row, a franchise record. Jay Morgan Harder? The Grizzlies are only 3.5 games out from the number 1 seed. They are only a game behind Utah for the number 3 seed. This stuff is hard to fathom.
It really is unbelievable. I can't. The Grizzlies have now beaten the Warriors, Suns, Jazz, Nets, Heat, and Lakers all on the road.
Wow.
All on the road.
Wow. It's incredible.
Unbelievable. And the Tigers yesterday, I didn't put them in my medals, but I have to mention, made 16 free throws versus the opponent only shooting 6. That's how you win games.
How about this obscure fact? Twice now in the history of FedEx Forum, in college games, 2 teams have come here and they have hit 16 threes. 16 threes. That is a collegiate record for FedEx Forum. Savannah State did it several years ago. Savannah State took 48. That's all they did. They shot threes the whole game. They ended up making 16, and the Tigers wiped them out. But this team, Davenport, went crazy. A guy normally shoots 30% from three-point range. He hit 7 of 10. Come on. That was nuts. I promise you, who knows if Memphis will beat Cincy in February when they have to go to the Queen City. But I promise you they're not going to hit 16 threes.
Probably won't hit 16.
So that's twice now in FedEx Forum. The Tigers have given up 16 threes in a game and won both games. That's unfathomable.
Unbelievable. Davis Mills gets my bronze medal in a loss, but he's a rookie quarterback that didn't know he was going to start this year. A bunch of people were telling him to come back for one more year at Stanford last year, maybe to be a first-round pick. He decides to go to the NFL just to develop a little bit, gets thrown into a starting position, finishes the season going 23 of 33 with 301 yards and 3 touchdowns. And a loss to the Titans, but a competitive game. And the Texans are playing really hard down the stretch. Everyone's promoting the Lions. Oh, Dan Campbell's got this team playing so hard down the stretch. They cover so much. The Texans are doing the same thing, playing really hard down the stretch. I love the Texans.
I am going to tell you that may be the most obscure gold medal in the history, or bronze.
Well, that's why it's just bronze
in the history of the game. Go ahead.
That's why it's just bronze.
That's why we love having you.
Silver,
little different point of view.
My silver medal goes to all of Jacksonville, as the fans yesterday went to the game dressed as clowns to
did they really?
Kind of laugh at Shad Khan a little bit.
Oh,
they all went to the game as great. And it proves a good point, too. You know, what are we doing? We're just cycling through, guys. Let's get a little more stability here.
That guy's going to move moved to London now for sure.
Yeah, something like that. And my gold medal, it's the Texans again, goes to David Culley, who this year in 1 year goes 4-13.
You're going to give a gold medal to a guy who's going to get fired later today?
I'm going to go. He better not get fired. I'll be really upset if he gets fired. But the last 4 weeks, they beat the Jaguars 30-16, beat the Chargers, a really good football team, 41-29, lost to the Niners on the road, tough game, and then lost at home to the Titans yesterday, 28-25, but played really competitively. I really think the Texans and the Lions, teams that lost a lot of games this year, but you can clearly see are building some kind of culture and have players playing hard, and I think it would be a real shame if the Texans fired David Culley today.
You have faith in that guy in Detroit?
I do.
He's
crazy.
He's a whacked-out guy.
He likes coffee a lot.
That's okay. I like coffee a lot, too, but I don't say some of the crazy things he says.
That's true.
That is for sure. I think his players like him, though.
They do, and like I said, they're playing really hard.
Yeah, all right. I have 3 rusts. 1 to Brandon Staley. The Chargers could be in the playoffs today if they hadn't called the timeout. There is no doubt in my mind, even though I heard Bisaccia and I heard Derek Carr all say, no, we wanted to win the game. That was our goal. We were going to win the game. They were running it out. And if you look at the play clock to the game clock, if Brandon Staley doesn't call a timeout, the game is over. They're going to the playoffs. He decides to call a timeout. And then Oakland says, okay. Have a run, set up a field goal, knocks the Chargers out of the playoffs. The coach cost them, in my mind, a spot in the playoffs. I hear what they're saying now. If you listen to Chris Collinsworth, too, and Al Michael, they knew. The game was over. That was the stupidest timeout I have ever seen. Ever. And he cost his team a spot in the playoffs. Anybody deserves to be fired today would be him for that kind of stupidity. He had a good team. I got to give the Indy Colts a rust. All they needed was 1 win in 2 weeks, and they couldn't do it. And they lose to the aforementioned Jacksonville Jaguars, that I think is the worst team in the NFL. How do you lose to them, and now they're out of the playoffs? And then I got to give a rust to all the LA teams, except the Clips. They kind of ruined my thing here. But L.A., poor L.A. We mentioned the Chargers, who should have been in the playoffs, and the coach blows it. The Rams lose to San Francisco, so their seeding now is they have to face Arizona. They would have had a much easier chore. They lose to the Niners. Jimmy G never gets credit. Now the Niners are in the playoffs. And then finally, the Lakers, who lose to the Grizz big at home, snapping a 4-game winning streak. And even though LeBron, like when LeBron left the game, he had like over a third of their points. Where are they without him? My gosh. Anyway, bad day for L.A. They get my final rust.
Watching the Grizz game, then you flip back over to the Chargers, then flip back over to the Grizz, and all your teams are losing. My rust goes to the Giants and Joe Judge for running a QB sneak. Backed up on like their own 6-yard line yesterday. It was like 2nd down and 9. And they decided to run a QB sneak because they were just trying to create some space to punt the ball away on 2nd down.
On 2nd down.
On 2nd down.
Wow. And there are your precious medals, good and bad. I had a friend come up to me and he said, I want to thank you, Willow, for telling me about Old Dominick. If you haven't tried the Old Dominick, wonderful spirits distilled right here in Memphis, right there at 305 South Front Street. You're really missing something. And they, by the way, are in all your favorite liquor stores and spirit shops all around town. They have the only distillery tour in Memphis, which is a 45-minute, they call it a sensory journey, and I love that description because you do get a history lesson on Domenico Canelli. Then you're going to get the lesson on how they do this craft, which is really intricate and cool. And you'll learn how they do it from grain all the way to the glass. And then it ends with a tasting of the Old Dominick portfolio of spirits. And if you love those spirits after you've tasted them, go to the bar. You can get more. What a deal. Right in the heart of downtown Memphis. It's the hometown brand. You know it. Share a sip responsibly, they say, at Old Dominic. We'll pause for a second, and to Oxford we go. Our friend Michael Fitzsimmons is standing by. We'll talk championship game with Fitzy in just a minute.
You have opinions?
What do you hear? What do you say?
We want to hear them. Call or text us on the AutoZone listener line at 360-8255. That's the AutoZone listener line at 901-360-8255.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Hi, folks. Bill Russell at Russell Brothers Fine Jewelers, and I want to thank all of you who came to see us at Russell Brothers so that Christmas would be special for your lady. Thank you so much for the confidence and trust that so many of you have placed in Russell Brothers for over 37 years, and we're going to work even harder in 2022 to let you know how important you are. Whether you just need an $8 battery or a $20,000 diamond ring, you will receive the very best in beauty, quality, service, and value. Our exquisite gemstones, our fashionable designs, our huge array of fine jewelry will dazzle you and will help make you a hero in her eyes. Our warmest wish for you is a healthy and prosperous 2022, and when you want to let her know how very extraordinary she is, we invite you to come and see us at Russell Brothers Fine Jewelers, 4646 Poplar at Perkins. After all, doesn't she deserve the very best?
You are an electric vehicle. It's true. Electricity powers your heart. Want to feel your heartbeat faster? Drive an electric car. Made by Nissan, a company whose EVs have gone 5 billion miles. Built for every driveway, every highway, and every speedway. And where the loudest sound is the beat of your electric heart. Nissan. Electric cars for electric drivers. 5 billion miles driven by Leaf owners globally since 2010.
It's a brand new year.
And yet still here you are.
And now I'm not saying that you should make New Year's resolutions.
But if you did, they should all have something to do with Central Barbecue, right?
You think I'm so predictable?
That's because you are.
I could have been about to say anything.
As long as anything by mean telling people to go to Central Barbecue.
Well, yeah.
See, predictable. Still, we do love us some Central Barbecue.
Exactly. So people should resolve to spend plenty of time at one of the 4 locations of Central Barbecue this year.
You know what? You're right.
And you said I was predictable.
I knew you were going to say that.
Hey, you're not Pete.
Now, back to Wolo and Friends on Sports 56, presented by Homer Skelton Hyundai. Here once again, it's the voice of the Tigers, Dave Woloshin.
She's a good girl, loves her mama, loves Jesus, in America too. She's a good girl.
Welcome back in on this glorious Monday. So much happening, and you heard the announcer man say this hour presented by Homer Skelton Hyundai. You won't pay more than sticker for your new Hyundai at Homer Skelton Hyundai. I promise. Those other guys are charging you more for your new car. Not at Homer Skelton Hyundai, where they've raised the bar. This is the way car business should be done. Right there at Highway 78 and Craft Road, the number 1 exit in Mississippi. Turn left. You'll see what I'm talking about at Homer Skelton Hyundai. To Mississippi we go, and our friend Mike Fitzsimmons joins us now. We got a championship game tonight. Georgia, the 2.5-point favorite, even though they lost to Alabama by 17 in game 1. Fitzy, how are you today?
I am wonderful, David. How about you? I mean, this is, well, my dog is barking at some stuff here. Excuse me. Roby, I swear to you.
I would say this. Your dog is saying that Bulldogs should be favored, maybe.
Well, she's soft as church music. She's a Labradoodle, and she is certainly, she's no match for a Bulldog. And I'm going to go into another room.
Okay.
No, I think she'll be fine, but I'm sorry, David. I apologize.
No sweat.
Yeah, well, that's why I named her after my favorite song, Goodbye, Ruby Tuesday.
All right.
Well,
so
here we go.
Yeah. Tell me about your thoughts about this championship game, a repeat of the SEC championship where Bama had their way. Kirby Smart is 0-4 against his teacher, Nick Saban.
Well, David, I mean, we talked earlier this morning, and when you look at the matchup, Vegas, of course, you start there. There's a lot of wagering going on, and this is it. This is the big casino, And to me, this is kind of like I tell you, these are two really good football teams, and you are having, the legend and coach Nick Saban, who is going to break Bear Bryant's record with a win. As for me, when I look at Alabama, I agree with you. I saw that game. I saw the flow. If you recall, I was touting Georgia's defense, and I said it was the best college defense that I had seen. And I compared it to the offense of Joe Burrows at LSU, which I thought was and still do the best offense I had ever seen. Alabama's offense last year was sick, and it was better. Okay, I mean the Eagles receiver and all that. I mean Alabama is special, David. They're just it's a minor league NFL game, pretty much. I mean, me and you are old enough to remember, David, the old NFL All-Star game. Where the NFL players played the college All-Stars?
Yeah, in Chicago, the old Shrine All-Star game. Yeah.
Well, you know what? Tonight we are going to see, because, real world, Alabama has more 4 stars and 5 stars comparatively, and Georgia does, than anyone else. And I think after tonight, I think nationwide, I think you're going to see a push for, you're going to see a playoff expand. I think that there's probably, a little bit. People want to see some other teams out there, Ohio State and everything else. Hey, let's see what's going to happen with the new NIL stuff. Alabama's going to be Alabama, and it just means more. And Georgia is, Kirby Smart. He has built a program over there, and he's a disciple and a pupil. And I'm pulling for Georgia tonight. Matt Luke's there. And he's done a hell of a job with that offensive line. And I'm going with defense, David. And I said it was the best defense in college football. So guess what? I am going in, and I know my daughter's not going to be happy with me. But it's a coin flip, David. It's going to be every phase of the game. Offense, defense, and kicking is going to be every play, every snap. If it's 90 snaps, every one's going to be a one-on-one war. You understand? And at the end of the day, you're not going to win them all, but you got to get up and keep playing, because this is high-level stuff. You hear me? The windows and the targets these quarterbacks are going to have to throw in under duress. They're bringing packages. Kirby Smart coaches very, very good defense. We saw what Aranda did to coach Kiffin's offense, which has been unstoppable along with Levy. So we're in for a football game tonight. Enjoy it, folks. I know that you and I go back far enough where Vegas was the Ducks versus the Bucks, the Buckeyes, and Vegas is wrong sometimes, David, because I think that year they had the Quack Attack, a 14-point favorite. Well, that night Ohio State they were shooting buckshot, not birdshot, and just blew them away. Tonight, I like the Dogs. Hunker down,
Vegas likes the Dogs too. I just a few weeks ago saw the same game. I just hope you're right about one thing. I hope that every snap has meaning, because these 2 semifinal games were snoozers. The SEC championship game really wasn't that wonderful a contest. Maybe this time we'll get one. I hope they expand the playoffs, because I think you will end up getting some really good games if you do. You brought up something. I want to ask you this question, and we'll sort of end this. Go ahead.
I just want to say, on your point, kudos to Nick Saban. Should he win, David? My daughter went there. I had the opportunity to go there firsthand. As a dad, as an SEC girl dad, and my daughter's a doctor, having went to Penn. I'm proud of her, and I just, you go over there. It's a special place. They love college football, the passion and everything. And change is coming. Oklahoma, Texas, who knows? Florida State, Clemson. There's a lot of good coaches in the SEC. Beamer, Kiffin. You hear me, David? I know the records weren't where they wanted, the portals and all this, but kudos to Coach Saban and Coach Kirby Smart for no opt-outs. You understand? So tonight
Well,
we're seeing.
you shouldn't see an opt-out in a playoff. That the day
Well,
we
I
see
know,
that, we
David, but
know
guess what?
the system is really busted.
Well,
I
we're
get it.
going to find out about
I get
that.
it in a bowl game. I really do, especially when you see coaches that don't hang around for bowl games. So if they're the leaders,
I
if that's
get it.
their
I
role
get it,
model and they're
David.
doing it, but we haven't seen that yet. I hope we never do. I want to
No.
go back to your Saban discussion, and you brought up Bear Bryant, and I don't want to say I'm not going to ask you which guy is better because that is so subjective, and they were both incredible. There's no question about that. Bama has had two of the greatest college football coaches that have ever existed. My question for you is this. Who had the tougher era? Was it Bear Bryant who had a change, especially when African Americans were allowed to play, and then he had to change up his systems, or was it Nick Saban in an era where you're only having 85 scholarships and the SEC is a whole lot tougher league than it was when Bear Bryant was there? Who had the harder job?
Wow. Great question, and you didn't prepare me for that, David,
No.
when you woke me up at 6 a.m. Okay. Well, Bear Bryant is the legend. Okay. I mean, I'm fortunate enough to eat lunch with Robert Youngblood, 25-year college coach, and knew Billy and Coach Brewer as a coach and a friend who knew Pat Dye and all them guys. And guess what? Both them guys were from Columbus. James T. Thomas, Reston, all these guys have passed except Coach Blood. But anyway, Bear Bryant used to go over there and to Columbus, and he had investments over there, and he farmed, David. He had a cattle farm.
Right.
Coach Brewer, Bear would drive over there. Listen to this. I don't think he was a farmer. He was one hell of a football coach, and he was a leader. And he would drive over there just to shoot the bull, and I guess to have and he had a business partner over there. And he'd stop, and there was a bar in, I believe, Columbus called the Elbow Room, which Billy sent me down there one night to look and hang out in Sea City, Columbus. I'd never been to Starkville, but I love Mississippi. It's a cool place. But Bear Bryant, he you're talking about that golden triangle down there, and that maroon and that crimson. You understand? I mean, they're right down there on the border. So the passion and all that. College football's cool. The SEC has never been better. Bear Bryant, I mean, he's a legend. Nick Saban, his era. I followed Coach Saban since I'm aficionado of coaching, and I go back to his MAC days, David. Where his father was an auto mechanic. Nick Saban is a football coach. You know what I'm saying? I mean, you talk about the other best coaching in football. I mean, you want to talk about the legends, and John Madden just passed, rest in peace. You're talking about Bill Belichick. You know what I'm saying? So these two guys are friends, and they're the best in the business. And Nick Saban could win in the NFL. He'd probably have to change it up a little bit. And I know fortunes happen where Drew Brees gets hurt. He's a saint, and all of a sudden, everyone knows the story. He ends up at Alabama because he was coaching the Dolphins. What would he have won there? I don't know. The Dolphins are a tough place to play, but man, I think he would have. I think Nick Saban, he's adjusted and adapted, and guess what? He predicted everything. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I get a kick out of it. He's direct with the media, no bull. He tells it the way it is, and he gets that through the kids. He wants to get them to the next level, and it's a process. He brings in the best, and know what else he does? He does reclamation projects, David, with coaches, because we all make mistakes in life, second chances.
I get that, Fitzy, but you have not answered the question whatsoever. Who had the harder job?
Well, I'm ducking it. I you know what? I'm a Bear Bryant guy. All right.
Okay.
That's just me.
All right.
And it is what it is. But I'm an old guy too, David. I think that I don't. I'm not, I'm getting up there. I'm not as old as you.
No.
Fortunately. 80. No, I'm not getting there. You just keep breaking your number in golf, my friend, and we'll be playing soon. And I've had a great time this year, and it's been fun.
We'll wrap it up next week. Thank you, my man. And maybe by next week you can answer this question.
David, Look, I'm only as good as you lead me, okay?
There you
started
go.
this 30 years ago when I spoke like Rocky Balboa, and I still butcher the King's English. But you know what? You're near and dear to my heart. Don't let me hang up on you.
Bye, Fitzy. We'll see you next week. We'll wrap up college football. That is our friend down in Mississippi. That is Mike Fitzsimmons. He's brought to you by Conway. Conway Services, heating, cooling, plumbing, electric, and, of course, he does this every January because it's the slowest month, right? Hate to say this, warehouse is full. Crews are slow. They're looking to figure out a way to spark business. You know what John calls it? I love the name, too. It's called free furnace time. So John says to spark business in these slow months, they give you a Carrier 80% gas furnace if you buy the newest standard state-of-the-art Carrier air conditioning system. That's right. Get the air conditioning system in the month of January. You get a gas furnace absolutely free. And John goes, I'll throw in an April air cleaner. I'll give you a 10-year parts warranty. And I'll also, as further enticement, throw in a free Nest thermostat, state-of-the-art. That's $2,000 in savings. And you can get this for as low as $139 a month or 12 months interest-free. Anybody could handle that. All you got to do is make the call, 384-3511. That's Conway Services, heating, cooling, plumbing, electric, and in the month of January, free furnaces. Back in just a second, to Tampa we go. The guy that called the Bucs game yesterday is T.J. Reeves. He's next.
You have opinions?
The knowledge that I have matters.
We want to hear them. Call or text us on the AutoZone listener line at 360-8255. That's the AutoZone listener line at 901-360-8255.
Get in the zone, AutoZone. Brian Elder's Roofing Solutions.
I'm Brian Elder, 867-0303. Hurricane season is upon us. Is your roof ready? Are your shingles laying down and sealed properly? Call me right now, 867-0303. They say you get what you pay for. That's why my opinion is free. Maybe you've got years of life left in your roof. If so, I'll tell you that. But if I find storm damage or a compromised roof system, I'll lay out some options for you. Don't let them tell you it needs to be replaced if it only needs a repair. Call me, 867-0303. Has your insurance company already seen it and rejected your claim? Maybe they're correct. Most of the time, they're not. They do tend to become more reasonable once I get involved, though. 867-0303. I'll measure your roof from outer space or BrianElderRoofing.com.
Call 867-0303. Brian Elder's Roofing Solutions.
At Progressive, we know there's nothing like the feeling of riding your motorcycle with your buddies on the open road. It's a potent cocktail of thrills, laughter, and pure adrenaline. A feeling that would be impossible to recreate on the radio. Until now. Hit it, sound effects guy.
I'm real proud of you, son.
Wow, that was terrible. Our apologies for even trying. Quote with Progressive and see if you could save with America's #1 motorcycle insurer. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates.
Moving is stressful, but Black Tie Moving can take the worry out of the process. Whether you're moving across town or across country, moving your home or your office, your personal moving concierge from Black Tie Moving will work with you to design a plan that perfectly fits your budget and needs. And they're available 24/7 to answer any questions you have. Give Black Tie Moving a call at 901-316-6196 or go to blacktiemoving.com/Memphis to get your personal, no obligation quote from the moving experts at Black Tie Moving.
Now, back to Wolo and Friends on Sports 56, presented by Homer Skelton Hyundai. Here once again is the voice of the Tigers, Dave Woloshin.
And the Bucs rolling again at the 20-yard line of Carolina. Shotgun snap, lob down the left sideline. Evans is there. He's got it. That's touchdown number 2. That's touchdown, Buccaneers. My goodness.
My goodness is right. That isn't Gene Deckerhoff, the, I think, only Bucs play-by-play man in history. That is our T.J. Reeves. Gene had a COVID pause yesterday. To the rescue, Mr. Reeves from the sideline to the booth. Good job. How did all that go? And congratulations, Bucs win and cement their seeding.
Yes. Good morning. It was a blur to get to do all of that. Didn't start off great, but then the Bucks rolled on. So it's a pleasure to be with you here in the new year. It's a big-time Sunday. The Bucks got to win, and you know this. I keep repeating it to the audience when you have me on. I'm a Memphis State alum, a Memphis guy. So the Tigers got to win yesterday.
And they were
you're
wearing,
happy. I'm happy. We're all good.
They were wearing the throwbacks you used to look at, the Memphis State
yes,
blue
they
uniforms.
ought to wear those the rest of the year. They wore them in the Alabama
They
game.
did. They've won them for both times they wore them. They
Keep
won.
those things on if they're working.
I know.
Let me break a little news to you right now. The Buccaneers keep rolling right now in the white uniforms, and they're going to play at home. They're going to stay in the white uniforms just like they did for the Super Bowl last year when they got to pick. If it's working, don't change it.
I get you.
Keep doing it.
I get you. All right. So there is an NFL news this morning. After Fangio got the axe yesterday in Denver, this morning, Nagy in Chicago, Zimmer in Minnesota, Flores, not far from you in Miami,
right?
All getting the axe. I'm a little surprised about Flores. What's your sense of it all?
I believe just from the tone of the statement that Stephen Ross, the owner, put out there, and now some of the reporting from the Miami and the national media, this is just personality conflict, and Brian Flores could not get along with the GM. And even though they won 8 of their last 9 games and played hard yesterday when they were eliminated from the playoffs to beat the Patriots, his old team. So that's got to be a behind-the-scenes nightmare that we're going to get rid of you. Even they won 10 games a year ago. So, I mean, it's crazy that the Dolphins have stabilized and have been winning games and are still going to make this change. How bad must it be behind the scenes on that? I mean, the Bears, you've been bemoaning this. The Bears move was an obvious move.
Yes.
The Bears move could have been made 6 weeks ago. So
well,
that's an obvious
you know what?
one.
And I'm going to say this seriously. 6 weeks ago, the Bears weren't going to make the playoffs, or if they did make the playoffs, they would have been out early. So I commend the McCaskies, and I don't often do that because they've made some really stinker picks for head coaches. But I commend them for never having fired a guy in the middle of the season because I do believe you should have the ability to fight for your job and try to save it. And I don't think the Bears players disliked Matt Nagy either. So with that all said, I commend them for not firing him in the middle of the season, and I commend them big time for finally getting rid of him.
It was the move that had to be made inevitably, and it's made on Black Monday here. So that's an opening. You mentioned Denver's an opening, Minnesota's an opening, and there may be a couple of more coming later today here too. The curious thing is what happens with Pete Carroll. Are the New York Giants going to go back on that public vote of confidence? You know, usually the public vote of confidence on the coach is the kiss of death in pro sports. So are they going to get rid of Joe Judge? I don't think we're done yet on the coaching carousel.
What about in Houston, Culley, who I think deserves another year? I don't think that's enough one season, enough sample size, particularly since they were handcuffed with no quarterback.
Absolutely. And that situation never got resolved, and that's not his fault. That they didn't move him on a trade. It's the whole thing is in limbo. So I would agree there in Houston. But there may be 2 or 3 more of these later today and tomorrow. These pro coaches understand now, and they're very lucratively paid, and in a lot of cases, they're still getting paid even after they got fired. So they understand what the deal is. It is a win, and probably win within your first couple of seasons, or you may be gone in a season or 2 at the max, depending on who it is.
What do the Raiders do with Bisaccia, who is now in the playoffs? There's so many rumors that Jim Harbaugh would become their head coach.
Well,
what happens there?
Speaking of cleaning up the mess, that's the John Gruden mess. And Rich Bisaccia was here in Tampa Bay with John Gruden on the Super Bowl Bucks and had longed to be a head coach and get that opportunity somehow, some way. And again, the Raiders responded to him down the stretch of the season. They lost some games, but here at the very end, won the critical game in Indianapolis last week to stay alive, and then won that bizarre game. I mean, for your audience, I don't know how much you've mentioned this. I hung in there and watched, and I was dumbfounded, and I'm thinking the NFL is about to have a horror scenario where these two teams realize if this game ties, we are both in the playoffs, so we're going to stop trying to win the game. We're going to look at the other sideline and have them look at us and say, as long as we're both good, it's like you and I on the golf course. You know, the whole good thing from 5 feet.
Right.
A lot of times I would say good to you, though, that you're good from 5 feet. I didn't often get the good back. We haven't done that recently.
No. First of all,
it's like the good last night in the overtime.
5 feet. Come on. I'm not giving you that. I've seen you putt. 3 feet.
3 feet.
I might give you. That is so weird because I brought this up and I gave Brandon Staley a rust. I really believe that they had winked, nodded, and I don't know why, because Staley could have not called that timeout with 38 seconds left. The play clock hadn't started. The game would have ended. I don't think Oakland was going to take a chance on kicking a field goal, and bad things could have happened. And then Staley forces the Raiders to run the ball again to basically
got it closer. Got it closer.
Well, but here's the other thing. So once he called timeout, the play clock goes to 25. So now you're going to run 2 plays. So they get close enough to win it, and they basically eliminate the Chargers because Staley called the timeout. Now, he's the guy that should be looking at getting fired today.
Well, he did some other dumb things with the 4th down call in the first half, and he had 4th down problems against the Chiefs earlier in the year with bad calls. So, again, he's a first-time head coach, a first-year, first-time head coach, and a lot of times, you know, these guys, they outsmart themselves. How about that for the polite phrase? That timeout was probably outsmarting themselves. But Pittsburgh was agonizing all night last night because they needed the loss, and instead they're looking at maybe a tie croaking them because the 2 teams playing would both advance with a tie. Luckily, the NFL averted that.
Well, that's what should have happened, really. I mean, that if Staley doesn't call that timeout, that is exactly what would have happened, and the legacy of Big Ben would have gone away. So now you really do have great stories here. I mean, I think it's a great story that Bisaccia, who I think had 1 foot out the door, this may save him, is in. I think it's great that Ben Roethlisberger gets another shot against Kansas City in the playoffs.
Yes. And they were awful in the game 2 weeks ago on the day after Christmas and got blown out by Kansas City. Now they get the immediate rematch. I don't know how much better they're going to be offensively. I mean, their offensive line, et cetera, they have not scored a lot at all, especially down the stretch of the season. So I don't know if they can keep up with Mahomes and Kansas City. So it's going to be wild this weekend. As it turns out, we're gonna. I just saw the weather forecast. We're gonna have another high 70s, 80-degree January the 16th Sunday for the Buccaneers hosting the Eagles Sunday, 1:00 Eastern time, noon Memphis time. So get ready for the Eagles to be in those dark jerseys and not expecting 80 degrees with humidity for a playoff game.
Yeah.
How about that?
Well,
for coming this weekend,
I think it's a story that they're in, honestly, and a good story. I look at this though. So the Packers get the bye; they're the 1 seed. Then you guys are 2, and I think you have the easiest game with Philly. Dallas and San Francisco, everybody always shortchanges Jimmy G, but that's an interesting game.
Amazing.
The Rams and the Cardinals.
Let me share a story with you. Let me share a story with you about that 49er thing. I'm waiting to do the post-game show. So I did the game with Anthony Beck, who let me publicly commend him on Memphis radio. He filled in for our analyst. Anthony found out on Saturday afternoon, because our analyst had tested positive as well, that, okay, for the COVID protocols, he can't be there. So Anthony was working that Eagles-Cowboys game on Westwood One Radio. He's in Philadelphia when we find him. We work it out that he's going to come back to Tampa, do the Bucs game. He did a great job. So publicly, and I know a lot of Tiger fans have heard Anthony Beck on ESPN's College Football, hear him on national radio. He's a great guy. He did a great job with me, made my job easier. You know how that works. Mm-hmm. The analyst you lean on and that kind of stuff. The way you lean on Matt with the basketball broadcast, et cetera. So in any event, I get done with him, and I go down now to do my normal post-game duties, which is usually about a 30-minute locker room show with Bruce Arians, player interviews. So we're delayed from beginning because they're watching the end of that 49ers game with the Rams in the overtime. And anything can happen here. Either the Rams can retie the game with a field goal, which, by the way, that would have helped the Bucs if that game had ended in a tie. The Bucs would have gotten the 2 seed anyway with the tie. The Rams knew that. So the Rams go for the win and throw that interception, and the roar, Wolo, through the wall and through the door from the team the coaching staff, and even the Glazer family, the owners, they were roaring like a crowd out in the stadium. Tom Brady, Gronkowski, all the players. It was wild to be down there and be part of that when San Francisco clinched the overtime victory and gave the Bucs the 2 seed. There you go.
Incredible. Yeah. No, that's how. And I gave a silver medal to the NFL because look at the way the regular season came to an end. Look at the great storylines you had. And the regular season officially ends in an overtime game that eliminates a team where you could have had a tie. I mean, you can't make this stuff up. It was so darn good. But here's what I really want to ask you. I started with this. I think the Cowboys and the Niners are going to be a great game. The Rams and the Cardinals are going to be terrific, and the Rams played themselves down a seed to have to take on Arizona now. You can't pick for sure a team out of those four that is going to get to the Super Bowl. I think the same thing in the AFC. The Titans, the 1 seed. The Chiefs, we know how good they are. They've been to the last 2 Super Bowls, one 2 years ago. Buffalo, which was the team I thought would win the Super Bowl coming into the season.
Watch them.
Watch
them. I saw them at field level, and they have played well ever since the second half of the Buccaneer game. Watch the Buffalo Bills. They don't have home field advantage, but dangerous.
And then there's, I think, the feel-good story of the year with all the talents between Burrow and Mixon and Chase, the rookie receiver. The Bengals are really, really good. You look at the top 4 seeds in both conferences, and you can't tell me for sure who's going to be in the Super Bowl and who's going to win it.
Yeah, and the NFL wants that. That's what they want for the first 2 weekends of the playoffs, that anything can happen here, and home field advantage goes right out the window. I realize it was COVID times with no crowds, but the Bucs won all 3 times on the road with everybody saying you're not going to win this one on the road. You're not going to win this one on the road. So, and we've seen it too for the teams like Tennessee or with Green Bay. Be careful even in that first home playoff game 2 weeks from now. They may have problems playing an opponent who just won a game the previous week and is rolling and has momentum. That has happened before too. So I'm ready for all of it to begin. I'm glad for a lot of reasons, playoff checks, etc. We want more games. We want more games, and who knows? And so here's the clever one. This is the phrase we're using down in Tampa Bay. We don't have to, the second weekend, if the Bucs win, go make a trip to L.A. In this case, there would only be one trip to L.A. if we're going to make it, and that's the one in February for the Super Bowl. Let's see what happens.
So Dallas would have to come to you, right? The Rams would have to come
to you.
So
here's the simplest way to explain it. Dallas wins, they come to Tampa, and then the winner, obviously, of Arizona and L.A. goes to Green Bay. If San Francisco wins, they go to Green Bay. That is provided that the Bucs don't lose to Philadelphia. Lowest-seeded team remaining goes to Green Bay. That would be either Philadelphia or San Francisco, or the winner of the Rams and the Cardinals Monday night. Lowest-seeded team goes to Green Bay. If Dallas wins, they are here on week 2. How nuts will that be?
Well, other than the L.A. trip, you might have to go to Green Bay, provided you last long enough. And if Green Bay loses, you got 3 games at home.
We won't get too far ahead of all of this. I know the Eagles are going to come in here ready to go, but I'm not going against 44-year-old Tom Brady after what I saw again yesterday, especially in the second half. I mean, these guys, they score on everybody, and even with backups. Gronk, Mike Evans, and backups, it doesn't matter. I mean, Le'Veon Bell has been cast off from 3 different teams. He's out there making plays yesterday with Tom Brady. How surreal is that?
You got 30 seconds. Tell me the winner of the Alabama-Georgia game, and then we'll say goodbye.
Alabama wins the rematch tonight. I'm not going against Nick Saban with time to prepare. I think he's the better coach. I think they've got the better quarterback. I think it's the Tide again.
I'm with you. TJ, we are in agreement. Congratulations on yesterday. We'll talk next week.
Thank you, my friend. And go Tigers. Keep winning some games.
There you go. That's our man down in Tampa. TJ Reeves, brought to you in part by the good folks at James Davis Menswear. That's in the Laurelwood Shopping Center. And by now, you know they're the best men's store in Memphis. They have been for years. And they're the only ones now with the Stant Custom Fit System. 2 measurements for pants, perfect fitting. 3 custom fitting shirt, 3 measurements. It's all about the algorithm and the new technology. And the only place you can get the Stant Custom Fit System would be James Davis Men's Store in the Laurelwood Shopping Center. Same people have been around forever. They take care of you. All of the new winter fashions are in. So that'll do it for us. Thanks to TJ. Thanks to Mike Fitzsimmons. We'll do it again tomorrow. Have a great day, everyone.